Today we come to the My Little Pony episode, Applejack's Day Off. It could have been another Spite at your service, or another Some Pony to Watch Over Me, as well as a quirky little story about Twilight following a list and trying to do all kinds of chores while Applejack fretted and worried about how things were happening down on the farm and had to keep checking in on her friends to make sure that they were doing things right, and having a whole bunch of crazy farm-based shenanigans where Twilight and Spite kept messing up chores because Applejack couldn't give good instructions or couldn't trust her friends to do the chores right, or any number of other things like that, actually turned into a nice little slice of life, focusing almost completely on Applejack and Rarity, with Twilight and Spite playing a much smaller role than what one expected from the setup that was given with this episode. Instead of following Twilight and Spite around as they made mistakes or not on the farm, we ended up following Applejack and Rarity around as Applejack kept finding reasons not to relax at the spa, most of which revolved around the fact that the spa was having a plumbing issue, and the steam room, which was the only thing Applejack wanted of all the many spa treatments, wasn't working because it didn't have enough water pressure. There wasn't enough water pressure because the laundry was being done all the time, and the laundry was being done all the time because the ponies kept getting cold while they were waiting to get into the steam room, and the cycle was never ending. That is, until Applejack fixes a leak in the pipe and puts things back on schedule and helps speed up the process. However, she's lost her time at the spa, and it's time to go back to the farm and check in on Twilight and Spite, who, even though they followed Applejack's list precisely, haven't made any progress on feeding the pigs. It turns out that the reason why Applejack's chores are so complex is because a series of events that used to make sense no longer apply because the passage of time has made some of Applejack's routine chore processes worthless. Now, one usually watches My Little Pony and thinks back to the Zap Apple Jam and all of the crazy things that Granny Smith said were necessary for making Zap Apple Jam, and one would think that Applejack had reasons why she had to do all this stuff for the pigs, and well, she did at one time, but after the passage of time those reasons became less and less important until they reached the point where they could be cut out of the chore process altogether. And Applejack needed to see this and learn to spend less time doing things that she didn't have to do. When Applejack learned that there was a whole bunch of stuff she could cut out of the chore process, she was able to finally find free time and get back to the spa to relax with Rarity, and surprise of all surprises, Rainbow Dash as well. Yet two ponies who have a reputation for not liking the spa, Applejack and Rainbow Dash, actually both got to enjoy it for once. Throughout the whole episode, I was convinced that Applejack was intentionally trying to avoid doing the spa stuff, but she never said anything one way or another to confirm or deny those particular suspicions. The important thing was that we did the slice of life stuff and just sort of focused on telling the story. Overall, the story wasn't all that too important, and this episode could be cut from the My Little Pony season altogether, and there would be nothing missed. We didn't gain anything much new. We didn't see any interesting characters, didn't learn anything, and we didn't forward or progress any of the story arcs. We just sort of had fun relaxing with a nice little slice of life episode with a decent moral. And sometimes that's what people want. I hear bronies all the time complaining that My Little Pony has too many adventure episodes and not enough slice of life. But I also hear people complain that there's too much slice of life and not enough adventure. So whether this was good or not depends on whether or not you like the slice of life formula. It was nice to see Rainbow Dash thrown into the mix, including her bathrobe and tank slippers. It's a nice little bit of character growth to have her trying to be cool and publicly avoiding the typical girly stuff that she secretly enjoys as her guilty pleasure, and that little hesitation for her to not want other ponies to know what was happening. But at the same time, one does have to remember that Rainbow Dash is a Wonderbolt now, and the Wonderbolts have personal trainers. They give each other back rubs. They have that die that was a reference to Rocky giving back rubs and so on and so forth. I would think that the Wonderbolts actually have full spa services as part of the Wonderbolts groups. Perhaps a Wonderbolt trainer that comes with them, like the one that we saw at Rainbow Falls, or perhaps there is a facility at the barracks where the Wonderbolts can get massages and hoof polishes and all of the things that they need. Maybe the Wonderbolts have a special group discount at the Ponyville Spa because they are a military group and need athletic treatments constantly. But either way, I would think that Rainbow Dash would be getting her treatments with the Bolts now and not by herself. But that's easily overlooked detail that's overall not important. What we learned from this episode and some of the other ones is that My Little Pony can take a plot line that they've done before, repeat it, and give it a nice little twist to show that something else is happening and that the same problems can be resolved differently. Just like with decorating Twilight's castle versus decorating Rarity's shop are basically the same plot, but the problem was resolved differently in each situation. So too is Applejack doing the chores. The plot of making the chores complex and traditional and done the same way every time, the moral of making Zap Apple Jam, similar to but also different from the way Applejack feeds the pigs and overcomplicates something that could be easily simplified. In one situation, those steps had to be done to produce the magic that makes the Zap Apples. In the other situation, the reasons why those steps were being done made sense at one time, but after the passage of time, were no longer necessary. With all of that being said, I wouldn't want to see certain plots repeated every single season. Occasionally repeating the plot and doing it a little different works nice, but doing the same story over and over again could get a little tiring. Are the ponies out of character in this episode, or are we adding complexity to their character? After all, we know Applejack and Rainbow Dash don't particularly like the spa, but having them like the spa now, does that show that their characters have grown and changed and evolved over the years, or does it show that the writers don't know how to write these characters? Applejack never once sounded sincere to me about wanting a spa treatment. It always sounded like she was trying to get out of something. I never really believed that she actually wanted the spa treatment, but that was never actually touched upon. The story could have been helped some by cutting back to the farm once in a while and checking in on Spite and Twilight, and giving Spite and Twilight and Rarity and Applejack equal halves of the episode, instead of putting Twilight and Spite at the beginning and end of the story and having the entire middle filled with Rarity and Applejack. It would have been nice to have done a little Spite and Twilight, then a little Applejack and Rarity, then back to Spite and Twilight, then back to Applejack and Rarity, and so on. Another interesting thought to think about here is that plumbing and washing machines are now canon to My Little Pony. We got some new background characters as well as some returning old ones, including a speaking role from Spoiled Rich, who was indeed Spoiled Rich, even though you don't recognize her immediately at first. And another thought, Applejack's been a silly pony throughout this whole episode. It would really fit that Who's a Silly Pony, You Is Applejack song. And the final thought for today, and you can post your answers in the comments section, is if you were given a long list of strange instructions and asked by your friend to follow the instructions on the list, what would you do? Would you follow those instructions one step at a time without asking any questions? Read the entire list first and put the instructions into context before acting upon what you are being told to do? Question the list and ask your friend why these instructions are so weird? Or would you ignore the instructions and do things your way regardless of what the list was telling you to do? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this matter in the comments below. Until next time, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you for watching and good night.